Hey there, my friend, welcome. This is Dr. Anthony Balduzzi from the Fit Father Project. In today's video, we're gonna talk about how to get your body and your metabolism back on track after you've had a massive meal. Now, I'm shooting this right now a couple days before Thanksgiving. So this is an important topic because we need to know what we should be doing before we have a massive meal, whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, a birthday party, or holiday party, something like that. And what we need to do after to get our bodies back on track. We're gonna cover all of that in this video. You're gonna learn a ton, so buckle up and let's dive on in.
FitFatherProject.com.
All right, so the first thing we need to think about when preparing for a big meal is what do we do before the meal? In particular, what do we do for the 24 hours leading up to a meal? So for our example right now, we're gonna pretend that Thanksgiving's coming up, a big feast in the United States. It's happening on Thursday, and today is Wednesday. So what we wanna do is have low carbohydrate meals in the day leading up to the big feast. And that's incredibly important because we wanna go into that feast day with some depleted levels of carbohydrates in our muscles, in our liver. Why? Because we know we're gonna be eating more carbs than normal, and if our tank is already a little bit empty, we're gonna be able to fill it up with that big surge, and it's gonna make sure that we're not spilling over and gaining too much fat. If we come into that meal with a day of lots of carbohydrates before and then we feast on top of that, we already have a full tank, we're pouring more carbs on top, now we're having a recipe for some serious weight gain. So low carbohydrate all leading up to there. So this is an example of what you might do for like a lunch leading up to the day before a feast. You know, throw some protein on some greens, very simple, very easy. So low carbohydrate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner the day before. Now the day of the feast. Let's say that the feast is sometime in the afternoon. Then what you can do is one, make sure that you get a workout in sometime before you actually have the big meal. Why? Well, our bodies process nutrients in food a lot differently after we do some kind of strength training workout. So if we do some kind of lifting or some of the kettlebell workouts that we recommend inside our Fit Father 30-day program, or some of the barbell strength training exercises we also recommend in that program, our muscles become sponges for carbohydrates. And that's amazing because when we do eat the excess carbs during that feast, all that's gonna go to the muscles, not the fat cells. So that's a really good thing. So we wanna make sure we do some kind of lifting exercise before the actual feast. And another good trick, if possible, if the feast is early enough in the day, is to simply fast leading up to the feast. Just have some water, a big thing of green tea, some black coffee. Don't eat anything leading up to the feast. And what that means is that we can really kind of indulge during that feast, and we have enough calorie wiggle room because we're not coming in with a lot of calories. We had that lower calorie, low carb day before, we got a workout in the day of, and we fasted ideally, and then we have the big meal. If you can't fast during that day, if let's say the feast is a Christmas, for example, a dinner Christmas meal that you know is going to be a big blowout meal, then you can simply do a workout earlier in that day, have some kind of salad, something that looks like this, keep it low carb, and then have that big higher carb, higher calorie meal at dinner. Now, that is kind of the leading up to the plan situation. And it's really important leading up that you drink a lot of water or green tea. Why? We want your body to be experiencing a lot of water leading up to the big feast because that's going to get your kidneys churning out and peeing a lot of water. Because one of the biggest problems that happens after we have this big carb surge or big calorie surge during feast is our bodies hold a lot of water. So if we've already trained our body with a lot of water intake leading up to the feast, we're already peeing out a lot of water. So our body's going to continue to pee that water out after the feast. Because what happens for most people is they eat carbohydrates and then their body stores up to 3 or 4 pounds of extra water, and you feel bloated the next day, your bowel movements are all off, so the hydration leading up and through that feast is going to help a ton. But now it's the day after the feast. What do? The first thing we do is we hop on the scale. And this is an incredibly important habit for a couple reasons. First off, if you weigh yourself regularly, which we 100% recommend here at the Fit Father Project, because weighing yourself regularly creates these check-in feedback loops where your body's giving you data on what's going on. How much water are you holding? What's your bowel movements like? Are you off track? So if we have a regular weights and then we weigh ourselves the day after a feast, it's going to be very beneficial because we can see how much water our body's retaining. So let's say we normally weigh 220 pounds. The day after a feast, we weigh 224. So we know we have about 4 pounds of excess water, lack of bowel movements that we really need to make sure that we get out. And so that change in scale weight gives us a really good indication of what we want to get back to over the next few days. So how are we gonna do that? How are we gonna get the weight back down? Well, the first thing is to understand that if we've done everything I've discussed leading up to the feast, that the weight we've gained is not fat. It's most likely water retention from those excess carbs, water retention from the excess salt that's on probably the foods we don't normally eat, and generally just some bowel movement issues where we just ate a ton, our digestive tract's a little stopped up. Believe it or not, you could be holding up to a couple pounds of actual fecal matter that we want to get out. So let's figure out how to get that off. The first thing you want to do after that big feast is to fast. It's again, like leading up to that feast, we want to fast after the feast as well. And that just gives our whole system, our digestive system and our metabolism a break from the bombardment of food that we just hit it at. So our friends again are a bunch of water right here. So I just have some Mountain Spring water, a big thing of tea. This is green tea that I brewed in the morning. Really, really amazing because green tea actually has some benefits in itself of helping increase your metabolic rate and burning fat. So drinking tea for basically kind of skip breakfast up to lunch gives your systems a little break. And actually drinking more water is going to help your body release some of that excess water because your body still feels like you're getting extra water, so it's going to help shed that water. So after you have a day where you have some water retention, drink more water, drink more tea. While you're fasting, you can absolutely do some black coffee. So I have my black coffee right here. Totally great, totally fine, will help you feel energized, but you just want to give your body a break from some food after that feast. So kind of fast up until lunch. Now, when lunchtime rolls around, you want to go back to that salad, that low carb meal. By keeping the carbs low, again, that's going to help us empty out those tanks, get that carbohydrate reserves lower. That's going to help us release some of that excess water. And again, the greens in the salad gives you all that fiber that's going to really help get your digestive tract moving. Because in addition to hydrating, we also want to make sure we're pooping. You know, we basically want to get everything out of the system. So we're going to rest the gut with the fasting. We're going to get the hydration in, and we're going to get fiber in to really help get those bowel movements. So the greens help with the fiber. But in addition, you can actually take some fiber supplements. So this is actually a magnesium supplement. It's called Calm, but essentially it's magnesium, which is a really effective bowel mover. So caffeine helps, magnesium helps. The fiber in the greens helps. And some other fiber sources that I like to use are some chia seeds and some cacao, which is some chocolate powder. These are both great sources of fiber that will help get those bowel movements better. So during that first meal, when I have this salad, I fasted, I have that salad the day after the feast, I will also take some chia seeds, put that on the salad. I might even have some chocolate cacao powder in a little protein shake on the side. And doing this is going to ensure that we get all the fiber we need, we have all the hydration we need, and we've weighed ourselves so we know basically what that fluctuation was from the day before the feast to the day after. So we're going to weigh ourselves for a couple days afterwards to make sure that we can see that feedback loop get back down to our normal baseline weight. And that's where we're going to gain a ton of information on how our bodies react and respond to certain foods. Because you can feast, let's say, on a giant steak, a huge, massive porterhouse steak, and your weight might not fluctuate as much as if you feasted on some pasta with some dairy. And by weighing yourself, you're going to get that data. So that's absolutely essential because you're going to be able to make some decisions moving forward into the next feast that you have that comes up during the holidays or whatnot on what you want to eat and how that affects your body in particular, because we're all different. So I hope this has helped. I hope you have some ideas on what to do before a big meal, during the big meal, and after the big meal. And on the during part, there's one thing I saw down here that I didn't mention, but these are some digestive enzymes. I have some here for some gluten digestive enzymes as well as some dairy digestive enzymes. And these can be very beneficial when you're having that big meal and you're eating a ton of different foods that your body can't digest super well just because of the volume and the quantity, and it may not be food you normally eat. Enzymes can really help reduce some of that digestive stress. So those are good too. That's the last final note I want to say on this. But this process is pretty straightforward. We want to eat low carb up to the feast. We want to hydrate up to the feast. On the day of the feast, we want to fast and get a workout in. And if we need to have a meal because the feast is at dinner, we're going to do a low carb salad meal. Day after the feast, we're going to hop on the scale, see what the damage was, and we're going to know what we need to get back to over the next coming days. We're going to hydrate super well with the teas, the water, the black coffee, and then we're going to have our first meal be a salad for lunch again, low carb with some good protein, some good healthy fats, and we're gonna include all these great fiber sources. That is your battle plan. If you do this in exactly how I laid out, you're gonna find that your body's gonna be much more apt to not gain tons of weight and not gain tons of fat, and you're still gonna be able to enjoy yourself during the holidays, the Christmas parties, the birthdays, wherever you're at. So I hope you found this helpful. We have tons more great tips like this on how to get back on track after the holidays, generally how to eat the other 364 days out of the year over at the Fit Follower Project blog. So whether you're watching this on YouTube, on our blog, on Facebook, you can check in the description below, check out our blog, and I know you're gonna love all the stuff that we publish. So thanks for being here, my friend. Let me know if this was helpful, and I'll talk to you very soon.